Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're diving headfirst into one of the most massive, adrenaline-fueled showdowns in cinematic history. I'm talking about Iron Man squaring off against the Hulk. We're going to break down the absolute masterclass of visual storytelling and fight choreography that happens when you put two larger-than-life characters in a literal heavyweight bout. So let's just get right into it and look at exactly how the filmmakers pulled off the anatomy of this epic clash.
But first, to really appreciate the mechanics of this fight, we gotta look at the terrifying context. Scarlet Witch hasn't just made the Hulk kind of angry, she's completely hijacked his mind, mutating him into this seething, uncontrollable rage monster. Iron Man is basically left with zero options but to deploy his brand new hulkbuster armor, just to calm the big guy down. And while this is essentially a minor subplot in the grand scheme of the movie, the director treats it like the absolute centerpiece. They gave it so much attention.
Which brings us to a pretty massive challenge, right? Here's a question for you. How do you actually film two unyielding powerhouses literally tearing a city apart? When you're dealing with titans of this scale, it's absolutely crucial that the visual language of the film screams extreme strength. Every single moment has to explode with energy. So how exactly did they pull that off?
Well, to answer that, let's kick things off by looking at framing extreme strength and the cinematography of Titans.
Think about it. You can't just slap a camera on a tripod to capture this kind of raw power. You need motion. Notice the specific variety of shots they use here. There's this killer panning shot that follows a car literally flying through the air, right up until the Hulk violently tackles it to drive the hit home. Then they contrast that huge wide motion with a tight, claustrophobic medium shot of the hulkbuster, just unleashing rapid jackhammer-style punches. And man, we have to mention that terrific tracking shot where the camera actively follows the two of them exchanging blows as they travel straight up the side of a skyscraper. These dynamic camera movements are what ensure we feel the immense energy of every single impact.
So, let's zoom in a bit and do a micro breakdown of an epic punch collision. We're going to analyze one of the absolute best sequences in the entire fight, frame by frame. The editing in this moment is just brilliantly deliberate. First, a medium shot locks right onto the Hulkbuster's freshly rebuilt arm. Boom! Stakes are set for the hit. Then, a quick cut to a dramatic low-angle shot of the Hulk rushing in, making him look totally imposing and completely unstoppable. We get just a tiny fraction of a second of the two massive punches colliding before, bam, it cuts wide to reveal the sheer aftermath of that hit.
And oh man, look at that wide shot. Do you see those awesome spherical shockwave air bubbles bursting right from the point of impact? If that reminds you of Man of Steel, you hit the nail right on the head. It's the ultimate visual shorthand for concussive power so immense it's visibly pushing the air itself out of the way, just to add that extra oomph, literally moving the air.
But hey, this isn't just about the heroes showing off. It's about the terrifying reality of the environment they're in. The filmmakers craft this brilliant sequence of collateral damage to really ground the physics of this hit. In that same wide shot with the shockwaves, we see car windows instantly shattering from the force alone. We hear helpless civilians shrieking in terror, and we see glass breaking right in front of their faces. It's a quick reminder that, hey, these aren't just pixels clashing. There are real-world consequences when titans trade blows in a populated area.
The absolute crucial takeaway here is that despite the utter chaos, the shattered glass, the massive shockwaves, the action remains visually flawless. You never find yourself lost in the edit. You're never sitting there wishing you had seen another angle or wishing a shot held for just a second longer. The visual storytelling serves up exactly what you need to process the extreme action perfectly.
Okay, now let's shift gears from the macro scale to the micro scale. Let's talk about brains versus brawn and the contrasting fight choreography. Now, you normally wouldn't expect highly complex martial arts from two brawling giants, but here we get a fantastic visual story of brains versus brawn. On one side, we've got Iron Man employing calculated technical throws and judo techniques. On the other side, the Hulk relies entirely on overwhelming strength, primal rage, and just uncalculated brawling.
For Iron Man, his whole strategy boils down to this classic idea. Remember using your opponent's strength against them. It's literally the core principle behind martial arts like judo. I mean, sure, the hulkbuster armor is incredibly heavy and strong, but he knows he can't just outpunch a literal rage monster. He has to outthink him. He has to turn the Hulk's own massive momentum into a weapon.
And we actually get to see Iron Man execute a flawless judo sequence mid-fight. When Hulk rushes in for a massive tackle, Iron Man doesn't just block it, he deflects, seamlessly continuing Hulk's forward motion. He drops his center of gravity right down to the ground, grabs him, and uses a well-placed kick to flip the giant completely over. It's highly technical, and it perfectly suits a genius inside a machine trying to control a wild beast.
Even when Iron Man does have to rely on striking, the animators made sure to give him terrific form. Later in the fight, he throws this massive right hook, and if you watch really closely, you'll notice how Iron Man twists his entire upper body before unleashing the punch. He is generating maximum torque and mechanical power through perfect body mechanics, ensuring every single ounce of that suit's capability is backing up that strike.
But what exactly is happening on the other side of that choreography? Let's take a look at the Hulk's guerrilla brawler style, characterized by raw, unfiltered rage.
The Hulk fights very much like an oversized gorilla would. There's no technique, there's no calculated center of gravity. He is just constantly executing this wild, chaotic barrage of hits, trying to literally tear his opponent apart limb from limb. His choreography relies 100% on an overwhelming amount of raw strength. It is brutal, it is unfiltered rage, and it contrasts so perfectly with Iron Man's calculated judo throws.
Now, obviously this clash has to end eventually, right? And how exactly do you stop an unyielding rage monster? Well, you literally knock his senses back into him. It takes the sheer catastrophic trauma of being slammed straight through a gigantic collapsing building to finally short-circuit Scarlet Witch's mind control. Talk about a wake-up call. And then, as the Hulk stands there dazed in the rubble, just finally starting to regain his own consciousness, we get that amazing concluding moment. Iron Man delivers one final, massive sucker punch, knocking the big green guy into total submission, and officially ending the battle.
By deconstructing the camera movements, the edits, and the choreography, we can really see the anatomy of a perfect action scene. It's like a giant puzzle coming together. So I'll leave you with this. The next time you watch a cinematic clash, try to look past the explosions. What hidden filmmaking techniques are making your favorite action scenes feel so incredibly powerful? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and hey, keep your eyes open.